Determining domain and range from a graph. This first page, you can kind of read through it. It talks about the domain and it talks about the range and how to identify it on a graph. What we used in class is a little foldable. This foldable helps you to situate your graph so you can see the top of the graph, the bottom, the left, and the right. Well, the left and the right of the graph is going to represent your domain, your x value. So you can close the left and the right tabs and narrow in on the domain. The top and the bottom can be folded down to help you narrow in on the range, the y values. So we're going to be using that in class, and you'll get yours tomorrow when you return as well. Keep in mind as we're going through this video that your range, which is your y, is up and down. Just like your y-axis runs up and down, we're going to be looking to see how far up and how far down our graph goes. Our domain runs left to right. That's our x, just like our x-axis runs left to right. So let's take a look at this example. Given the graph of a function f of x equals x squared minus 3, what is the domain and what is the range? Well, again, domain, that's left and right. And the range is top and bottom. So let's see how far out this graph goes to the left. Now what I want you to notice, here we are on the left side, is that this graph, it's going out to the left and it's continuing to go out. These arrows are continuous. There's no restriction here on the left side. Same thing on the right side. You'll see that on the right side of this graph that our line continues moving to the right, and it continues all the way to infinity. So since our domain is continuous to the left and to the right, our domain is going to be all real numbers. Now again, don't be confused about this graph. Even though it looks like it stops at -4 and +4, that's not the case. These arrows are telling you that it extends further than that. You just can't put all that on your paper. All right, let's look at our range. Our range goes top and bottom. So I can see at the bottom here that my graph does not go past the point -3. Doesn't not go past -3. Let's see how high up it goes. Now it looks like it stops right here, but again you have to remember those arrows are continuous. So it's really going to continue going up to infinity. So there's no restrictions on how far up it goes. With that said, y is going to be everything greater than -3. So we'll write this in set notation. Y is greater than -3. So y is greater than or equal to -3, because it can be -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, all the way up to infinity. So we have our range, y is greater than or equal to -3, and our domain is all real numbers. Example 2. Given the graph of the function f of x equals x squared minus 3, what is the domain and the range if the function is translated downward by 3 units? Now notice that this function is the same as example 1. The only thing they're changing here is that we're translating it downward by 3 units. So we're just going to go down 3. 1, 2, 3, and we have our new point here. So when we're looking at our conditions for our domain and our range, we're again looking, if it is our domain, we're looking left to right, and if it's our range, we're looking top to bottom. So again, our domain is going to continue moving to the left, and it's going to continue moving to the right. So it still stays all real numbers. But with our range, when I look at the bottom, it's not at -3 anymore. We've moved down 3 units. So it's now at -6. It still continues to go up into infinity. So our range will now be y is greater than or equal to -6. Domain and range of our graph. Example 3. Given the graph of a function, f of x equals the absolute value of the quantity x plus 2 minus 2, what is the domain and range of the function? Domain and range of the function. The domain, again, we're looking left to right, and our range, we're looking top to bottom. So this time we have an absolute value graph, so we know it's a V shape. So let's start off with our domain and our looking left to right. So finding the domain, again, these lines are going to continue moving to the left and to the right. So if there are no restrictions, then we have all real numbers. With our range looking top to bottom, I can see where my point is, and it's not going past -2. It is continuing to go up. So I just have to make sure that I write that y is greater than or equal to -2. There are no restrictions as far as the top goes, only the bottom. Take a look at example 4. This time our graph is facing down, but we're still going to find our domain and our range the same way. We're going to look left to right for our domain and top to bottom for our range. So left to right this time for our domain. Well, again, we have those arrows continuously moving to the left and to the right. So our domain is all real numbers. But this time, when I look at the top, I see that I do have a restriction, and it's not going above 3. It continues to go down, just not above 3. So that means that y has to be less than or equal to 3. And I have my range. Given the graph of a function, f of x equals the negative absolute value of the quantity x plus 2 minus 2, what is the domain and the range of the function? Domain is going left to right. No restrictions, all real numbers. The range is top to bottom. At the top, I'm not going past -2, but my graph does continuously move down. So as long as y is less than or equal to -2, I have my range. Let's look at our last example, example 6. What if the graph is a bar graph instead of a line graph? Your x is still your domain, and your y is still your range. So to find the domain, we just look at the values on the x-axis. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And to find the range, we just look at the values on the y-axis. 100, 75, 25, 125, and 50. And so we're easily able to locate our domain and our range. Try the practice problems. Press pause. When you're ready to check your answers, press play. Check your answers for the practice problems. If you have any questions, go back and look at your notes. Watch the attached videos as well that could help you. Come see me if you have any problems.